How do you know if your child needs something more than counseling services? We're going to talk about this today on this episode.
Hi, welcome to the Parenting Bridge podcast. I'm Dr. Michelle Alden, a licensed professional counselor, parent coach, and family therapist, and I'm here to help you to build a bridge to your best family possible.
So what I really want to talk to you about is this idea of having a child-centered approach versus having a parent-centered approach when you have kids that have all kinds of challenging behaviors. And these are the kind of kids that I work with, that my organization, Healthy Foundations, works with. And so there's just a lot of confusion, I think, because most parents that come to me have tried years and years of counseling. Their kids have counselors, they've had counselors forever, and it can be really different. It's not that all kids don't like counseling. Some kids like to go. They, if they're young, they're probably doing some kind of play therapy. It's not that they don't like it. They usually, a lot of kids like their counselor. And so I always ask parents, is it effective? Because on the same side, a lot of parents are really frustrated because it doesn't seem like anything's changing. And I am a licensed counselor, so I'm not going to tell you that counseling doesn't work. It does. It's just, is it really effective for kids that have extreme behavior problems and also problems with executive functioning? And that includes your kids with ADHD, autism, so they may learn some social skills and some behavior interventions in counseling, but it's very geared on helping the child to work through those things. And you as a parent, even if you come into the sessions, because I had parents that would, because of kids with attachment disorders or just the things that the kids would tell the therapist. And if you have a good therapist that understands about attachment disorder, or they understand that, that what's happening in the home is not exactly the same perspective from the parents as from the kids, then you may have been in those sessions. And so then it becomes this weird dynamic, because we're not really able to do counseling in the same way a lot of times unless there's already a really good bond with the parent and the child. A lot of times that just turns into the parent complaining or being frustrated, really. I mean, it's not just complaining. I mean, this is real stuff that's happening in your home. But, that kind of puts the child on the spot of like, now you have two adults that are trying to deal with this. Like, why did you act this way? All of that. So that can be a little bit rough, although I would still tell parents, like, if your child is in counseling and you're worried about the things they're telling the counselor, like, be there for those sessions, at least talk to the counselor before or after those sessions. I think it's important for parents to be involved. And it depends on which state you're in too, how long some states want a parent to be involved in that counseling. So it can feel, I've had, some families where they're really frustrated with the services that the kids have had because of what the provider tells the kids. They you want to make sure that you have somebody that is going to back up your values, I think, as a parent. But that's kind of more of a parent-centered approach versus the child-centered approach. And so I think that this is a real problem, actually, with children's mental health. And I see it increasing as the child gets older. It becomes all about what the child wants, which is, if we're just talking about a neurotypical child that has clear executive functioning skills and they can reason things out and they're able to understand cause and effect, then you can have some really good conversations with kids and you can help them to see both sides of things and all of that. But most of the kids that are having extreme behavior problems, severe ADHD, all of this, they've been in counseling for years, and even if they like their counselor, it's just not as effective. So that's kind of one of the first things that you can look at if you need a different approach is what have we been doing and has it worked? and what is the problem? Like, what's the real problem? Because if you've had your child in counseling for years and their aggression is going up, and every time you try to set boundaries or you try to have them do something, you have no compliance, you have nothing. And then it's even worse if they're telling you, well, my counselor said, blah, 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 and I hear this a lot, so if you have a good counselor, the child is happy going, it's not that an immediate no to needing a parent-centered approach. The real struggle is what's happening at home, what's happening between you and your child. And so then we have to look at some other things. The other piece of this is really looking at their behavior problems. If they're having problems at home and they're having problems at school, then we need to look at, and it's usually, somewhere else where it's recommended that your kids be in therapy. Some parents, are looking for different resources and trying to find help for their kids, but other times it could be the pediatrician, or it could be the school that says, hey, they need to be in counseling because we're having these problems. And again, it's not that counseling is a bad thing. We just want to look at how effective it is and if we need to take a different approach, especially if they've been in counseling for years. So looking at the problem behaviors is really, really important, because if things are happening at school, then that is difficult and challenging, and you're having to pull your child, take your child home, it's disrupting, your day, then we want to look at that and see if there's something we can do on the school end to help. And I've, been in a lot of IEP meetings and 504 meetings to help get the accommodations that we need based on what's going on with your child. And every school district, every state is a little bit different on how they do things, but you may need a parent coach just to help you through the IEP process or what accommodations you can ask for. You need somebody to advocate for you and what you need. If you're having the same problems or different problems at home, like if at school they're telling you, well, we don't have any of these problems, and you may feel like it's an us and them, right? Well, that's great that they're not having any problems at school, but at home, we cannot do homework without it disrupting into somebody getting hurt, or things getting broken, so you want somebody in your corner that understands that it may be different. And I think that's a key too with counseling, is you're in an office, and some counselors will go to your home and make home visits, but kids can hold it together for 45 minutes to an hour, maybe even a little bit longer, and I've found too that in the office it's totally different. I mean, I have a few kids that when I used to see kids in the office that would be bouncing off the walls or, different things, but primarily they were either going to shut down if they didn't want to be there and didn't want to talk, or they were just, really having fun playing. And it wasn't, again, it's not that it was totally ineffective to see kids. It's not really meeting the problem where it is. And I've just found with kids that when they're having these different problems at home, we have to help you as a parent to know what to do and how to handle those problems as they're happening in your home. And I think that takes some really good coaching, and help. And so locally we go into the home and help with that. And we do have an online program where we can do that. We can go into your home, of one, for a few days, and then we move into an online 12-week program where you get coaching throughout the program. And if you're thinking well, how is somebody going to coach me through this stuff? Nobody else believes me or no one else can help. I would say go ahead and sign up for that free consultation and talk with me about what's going on, because I really do get it. And I know when you start explaining what's going on, or, I know what else is going on, in their brains and all of that. So, I think sometimes people think it's the level of problems. Well, it's really bad and it's really awful, but maybe they're just teenagers and maybe it's going to work out and maybe it's going to be fine. But I have found that it's it's just so critical to your relationship with your child to have that extra help, to know how to use connecting words, to know how to get out of power struggles, how to deal with the aggression, and how to deal with the just crazy behavior, the lying, the manipulation, all of that. And I think that it's best if we're working with you as the other, like the primary adult in their life. And the benefit of it is that your relationship with your kids, actually I've found like all of your relationships may really get better, because we all need to practice these kind of tools, and their relational skills. There's so many different skills that kids are lacking if they are having problems with executive functioning. I have a whole video series on ADHD and parenting kids with ADHD that really explain like what's going on inside of their brain, even if your child doesn't have ADHD, but they have something else like oppositional defiance or autism, whatever. Like, it's so important to understand the part that executive functioning plays in it, and to understand that all of it is skill building. So when your child's having extreme behaviors, they haven't learned the skills they need to be able to behave better, to do better. And so I think it's important to get the help that you need. So again, if you have really extreme, safety issues, then you're going to want to really look at a way of getting more intensive help in the home, and that is available through Healthy Foundations. You can look at healthyfoundations.co and find out about our program and how we do it online. And there's a 12-week program that also I coach you through, that doesn't involve traveling to where you are, or you traveling to where we are. And if you're not if you feel like, okay, I think I can, get some help, and you're going to know this after you have a consultation with me, on, how much we need. A good place to start really is to go ahead and start in what we call the playroom. And the reason why I want you to start there is because you're going to get coaching every week. If you're having specific problems, like, you can bring those problems forward. You have access to ask the questions, or like, what do I do about this? Or throw your arms up and be like, I tried everything, nothing's working. And you have a group of other parents that are in similar situations. And with that playroom coaching, you're going to also know if you need more or not. So it's just a really good way to start, and it can really help you to know what to do further. So the third, part of whether if you need a parent-centered approach versus a counseling, child-centered approach, comes down to the safety issues. Have you had to call the police? Is your child in and out of mental health facilities? Are you looking at disrupting an adoption because it's just too much, like nobody's safe at home? These are all reasons to try something that's different and more effective. I've had parents tell me that they had counseling in the home, but as soon as the counselor would leave, like, all hell would break loose, and we don't want that for you. We want you to know that it can get better, and we want you to experience that. And I think that a lot of people, they come to coaching, when their kids are, maybe right before they turn teenagers or early teenagers, because they're so worried about what's going to happen. Or that's when they're, 13, 14, 15, they may be having to call the police a lot, having to come have someone help with the safety issues. And you may be just trying to hold on until they turn 18 and, they can go somewhere else, or maybe you're trying to get them into residential treatment. These are all big concerns. They're definitely big concerns. And you may feel like this is the only thing that's going to work, is to have this child go somewhere else to, keep trying to get their medication right, all of those things. And none of those things in and of itself are necessarily of a wrong action, a wrong thought process. I want to be really clear that those are all things that we use in our safety plan if that's what we have to do. But I just feel so strongly that so many parents, even after their kids have been at the hospital or have had problems, been in residential treatment, these kids are going to come home. No matter what age they are, you're going to continue to have interactions with them. And if you can learn the tools to know how to do it, I just think it's wrong that we teach kids not safety, but we teach kids coping skills. And then we expect that they're going to be able to learn these coping skills in a group or in a group home or in the hospital or wherever they're learning it. And then they're going to come home and apply those skills. Like, have you ever tried to change anything in your life where you're trying to do something different? Maybe it's even just to stop yelling at your kids. You need someone there guiding you so that you know how to help your child to even use their coping skills. And I do think it's wrong that we teach those coping skills, those relational skills, all of that to kids and then expect them to make the changes. And I think it's just so much healthier and so much more effective to look at the whole family and to really work on the dynamics of what's happening with the whole family. And it's hard work, right? And that's why you need a coach, because if you're going to make a big change in your life, if you want to really change your family and impact your family, then you're going to need someone in your corner helping you go through that. We found that 12 weeks is a really good time frame. It's not going to be a miracle as far as like, oh, in the first, few weeks, everything's going to change. But as you start to slowly incorporate different ways of doing things, different ways of even saying something to your kids, different ways to come around it from a different perspective, you're going to start seeing changes. And then it's just so powerful because you're going to feel the changes in yourself. And that has to happen first before you're going to actually see those changes in your kids. So if you're, this is another reason to look at, why you have your child in counseling. And a lot of times it's because you want them to stop doing something or you want them to change. And there's some other valid reasons to have your kids in counseling, like if they have depression, there's some help that can happen with anxiety, but we've found that 90% to 99% of the kids we work with have high anxiety. So it really does help within the home, because that's if you know how to help them through the anxiety stuff, like it's just so much more powerful than a short time in the office, once or twice a week, even if they love their counselor. If they love their counselor and you want to keep them in counseling, do it. But for these other things that I've talked about, if you need more, then please join the Playroom. That's the first step that you can take. Or if you aren't ready to make a decision about that, please look on our website. We have an easier website to get to called parentingchallengingkids.com, and you can also go to that. We'll have both of those links in the show notes, and you can sign up for a consultation. You can talk through your situation, and I'll lead you where I'll give you some advice of where to go next and what you are going to need to do. I can't solve all of the stuff in that consultation, but the consultation can be a really good stepping stone, and it's free to you. So I recommend that you go on the website, either one that's listed, and get the consultation. If you want to get to know me better, you can listen to you can buy the videos and watch them on demand, and figure out what it would be like to have someone in your corner helping you as the parent, especially on those days when you're just like, we've tried everything and nothing is working and this is never going to change. Just remember that change is hard, and if we're going to make physical changes, we have no problem with signing up for a coach, whether it's a diet coach or a fitness coach. And we know that our kids, if they're going to do sports or do something hard or challenging, they need a good coach. You need a coach too as a parent. Hope this was helpful, And I look forward to meeting with you in those consultations or seeing you in the playroom.
Thanks for listening to The Parenting Bridge. Do you want to learn more about building a bridge to better behaviors? Pick up a copy of Dr. Michelle Alden's new book, Parenting Emotionally Distressed Kids. Or, for more resources, you can click on the link for Healthy Foundations. If you would like to leave a comment or a question for Dr. Alden, there's a link in the notes. We'll see you next time, and remember, things can always get better.